I keep meaning to do these videos early in the day so I can upload them in the late afternoon or early evening. But I'm just gone all the time. I just walked in. It's close to midnight. Had to do dad stuff today, which is more important than anything in this room. So every time I come down here, I start looking around like, man, what am I gonna do next? Someone made a good suggestion and I'm gonna run with it. It's behind me on that top shelf up there, those Death Studios Killer Clowns from Outer Space. I'm gonna pull these suckers down and we're gonna feature them on tonight's episode of the 31 Days of Halloween Masks, because these are some of my favorite masks of all time. I had to get down on the floor and put my pedestal sideways because these are so big. These are the original Killer Clowns masks by Death Studios. Jeff Death out in, he's in LaPorte, Indiana, and Jeff is like one of the legendary guys out there when it comes to vintage masks. All of you will remember Death Studios masks if you were reading Fangoria magazine in the 80s and 90s. I think he started his company around 1978 or 9. And he's still doing it today. In fact, my buddy Kevin and I, Kevin's got that crazy pinball machine collection in the other video I did. You got to go see that if you haven't seen that yet. We're going to go there this weekend and see Jeff. Oh. And he's just too busy, so we got to reschedule to another day. But I'm going to feature 4 of his amazing masks on tonight's video because these are definitely some of the most special masks I own to me. And it's funny, I get a lot of visitors here. Most of the people that walk in this room go right to these clowns. They'll go, look at those clowns up there, and they'll walk past all these vintage Don Post masks, and they point at the Killer Clowns from Outer Space. These are the originals, man. So there's molds floating around out there. You can get newer copies of these. But these are the originals. One day I walked into a guy's basement and he had 4 of these on his wall. And I'm like, holy shit, look at those things. You know, I've seen other masks, like newer copies, but they were so vintage looking, like they're slightly yellowed, and which I went nuts because they looked like old vintage circus type items, like some crazy antique out of a circus almost, because they were aged so much. And that totally gave them so much more character than a brand new Killer Clowns mask. And these have that same thing going on now. They have that vintage, you know, they were probably bright white, I'm assuming, when they came out, but they have got that yellowing going on. And I tell you what, it makes them look even cooler. And these are massive. Clownzilla, all right? So this is Slim, Fatso, yeah, we're gonna fat shame today. Fatso, Shorty, and Clownzilla. If you remember, the movie Clownzilla was a massive, you know, crazy monster clown. But these masks are so badass. They're super thick pulls, they're heavy, they're gigantic. I'm gonna probably pick up one at a time and show you in my hands how great these masks are. I've had these for a long time now, and I don't know, over 10 years maybe. And I used to have 2 sets of vintage Death Studios clowns. I sold a set and I'm like, oh my god, now I wish I had both, because you just don't see a full set surface. I mean, once in a while you'll see, you know, one pop up here and there, a single mask, but seeing a whole set like this, I rarely ever see them out there. I know they're out there, people have them, but they just never pop up for sale. So like I was saying, you can find brand new copies of these, and the difference is, like, to tell if it's a original Death Studios mask or not, usually the eye makeup can be different shapes, or there's only one, you know, there'll be one of these and not one over here on other versions. So study the old catalogs. If you really want to make sure you're getting original Death Studios mask, you know, there's ways to tell. And I'm not an expert on Death Studios by any means. I'm just telling you what I've seen over the years and how I... Alright, trying to get the camera way out there if I can, just so you can see how big these suckers are. They're massive. So if this was on my head, you can see how big it is. They have pretty much stayed in really nice shape over the years, these clowns. I've been thinking lately, I'm probably going to foam fill each one of these because I would hate for anything to ever happen to them. I'd hate to lose these masks. 1988 wasn't a million years ago, so they're in fairly great shape as far as the latex, and they're poured nice and thick. They're a killer quality mask. But man, to foam fill these would be cool, and I could put them all on poles. Like I'd have them mounted on 4 poles that would, you know, come off the ground and just make a nicer display than have them sitting up on top of a shelf. So I think it'd be neat to fill these guys soon and make sure they're going to be safe for years to come. We'll look here so you can see how the mask looks yellowed, but if you look under the little neck piece, you'll see it's got that white color. So probably had something to do with the lighting of the room they were stored in for years. Like fluorescent light bulbs could have probably yellowed these over time. I don't think they were in a smoking room, you know, smoking house. I certainly don't smoke cigarettes, but I don't think that's nicotine on them at all. So I think the paint just aged with the light they were under, you know, or something made them turn yellow. Here's Fatso here. So put him next to me so you can kind of get a... He's the smallest out of the bunch, but he's got a big fat head. I've always liked the color of the eye makeup around his eyes. That blue really clashes with that green. It just looks so neat. This is a wearable copy. You can see that slit under his eyes. That's so your eyeballs can see through the mask. I think the one I just had is the slim was a display only copy. So this is a wearable one. So if I foam fill this mask, I'll end up putting black felt behind those eye holes, taping it back there with some really strong like Gorilla Tape. Do the same thing behind the mouth hole so none of that foam can ooze out if I do foam fill this sucker. And I'll carefully fill him up and make him solid. But such a cool mask. Look at that thing. And I dug up some old catalog pictures of these. They the original release was 1988, and it looked like Jeff sold these for many years, like into the 90s. You know, I saw them in a 92 catalog, I think, and a lot of others. So they were available. I don't know if he still sells these, but man, if you love that movie, these are the ones to have. I mean, you can get great copies out there, brand new, but when you see them in person and see what I'm talking about as far as the aging, you'll know exactly what I mean by these being the coolest ones. And they're the first ones. Jeff made them, you know. To me, that makes them even cooler than any others. So let's pick up Shorty here. Shorty's always been one of my favorites. This dude, look at that thing. He looks so crazy. What amazing sculpt on that. The hair is all one piece. He's all big, one big latex mask. Awesome coloring on this mask. Just so freaking cool. Put him next to my head so you can see how big this sucker is. It's a massive mask, you know. It'd be cool to make a costume and actually wear one of these for Halloween someday. This one here is a display only as well. So none of the holes are cut out. See that? No eye holes, no mouth holes for breathing. So maybe I should try to find a display only Fatso later if I'm going to fill these, foam fill them. But man, isn't that badass? Just a giant, I mean, it's heavy too. That's some serious latex rubber there, man, on this killer clowns. Big. Put him next to my head. Look at Clownzilla. Massive Halloween mask. Cool coloring once again on this gigantic, oh god, This gigantic Halloween mask. Look at that sucker. Still in excellent condition. Look at the coloring and the way this thing's painted. It's so badass. They're getting dusty. I gotta clean them really good. So one thing I'm noticing on these old masks, everything held up beautifully, except with the exception of the red paint. So it's so weird that the red on like the cheeks, the lips, the noses, on every one of these is kind of fading, you know, a little bit. It's one thing I'll never go and touch that up, you know. The red, for some reason, maybe like the lighting again, like I was talking about, could have made this red fade a little bit, but it only adds to their character of looking old. So that's something I'm not gonna even, you know, any other mask I'd probably touch it up with a nice, you know, flat red on the airbrush and make it look good again. But I'm leaving them just the way they are. And these all came with their bibs. Like these came with the masks. I've seen different colors, you know. I don't know if, like, I don't know the complete history on these from Death Studios, so I don't know if they made different colored bibs for them, but those are the ones that came with these masks, and I've had them on there ever since. So I had to showcase these tonight because, number one, it's one of my favorite films of all time. It's funny how the people out there either love this movie or they absolutely hate it. They go, that movie's stupid, it sucks, I hate Killer Clowns. And I'm just like, I'm not saying a word. But I love it. I'm sure a lot of you love that crazy film. And if you love Killer Clowns from Outer Space, get the masks. Pick them up. Even if you got to buy the new copies, they're still badass. The modern pulls are just as big. I mean, they're giant, you know, rubber masks. And I know Trick or Treat Studios released some as well. They re-released new versions. I haven't picked up some cool hard plastic ones that are at Spirit right now, I think, or Halloween City. There's these cool hard plastic Killer Clowns masks that just came out, and I bought the set. They're cheap as hell too, like 20 bucks a piece or something. But Don Post Studios even released their own Killer Clowns masks back in the day. But I'm a big Post collector, but still Jeff's are my all-time favorite. So I figured we'd do a quick video tonight on the Killer Clowns from Outer Space and watch that movie for your horror movies this month. If you're one of those people that waits till October to watch as many horror films as possible, add Killer Clowns from Outer Space, one of the greatest crazy B movies out of the 80s that I've loved it since I saw it as a kid and still love it today. So thanks for watching. Who knows what we'll look at tomorrow? Some more cool stuff. So I'll see you guys later.